Hi, my dear Astro family. So today we are going to be exploring the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Now, I have made two separate videos about it a good 8 months ago. So I recommend listening to that as well, because in this video, I am going to be only summarizing, not explaining the principles behind the planets, what a conjunction means. Pretty much it's going to be a bullet point of what my predictions are for the next 13 years and most likely for the next 2 months, what we should be expecting from this conjunction. So let's get started. First of all, this is a conjunction. So remember that. This is something that not necessarily is going to be playing out immediately because we are talking about a 14-month cycle. So therefore, I'm going to give you some examples as well later on in the video, but I tend to be seeing that something starts manifesting in your personal life, sometimes in 3-year times. So don't expect the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction to be something immediately popping up in your life. You're going to need a little bit of a time, especially in the sign of Taurus, because the manifestation of Taurus sometimes a little bit slower than others. So first of all, Jupiter would be about major promises, and Uranus is going to represent something to do with revolution. So most likely, I think there is going to be major fires happening in the world. We could be seeing that once Mars is going to be reaching 27 degree of Pisces, which is going to be happening at the end of the month, so around the 26th, 27th of April. And I'm going to explain to you why a little bit later on. I can imagine a major blow up or explosion of an oil tank, for example, or even an air crash as well. Or we could see that, for example, an airplane is going to be disappearing from the sky also. Probably the weather is going to be quite messed up. So you could be expecting one day extreme hot, the next day it can be quite cold. So maybe we're going to be seeing this 15 to 20 degree, temperature changes all the time. Most likely, I would say that there will be riots and demonstrations happening. Probably people will be on the streets fighting for democracy. So whether it's going to be about kind of like a religious movement, the reason why I am thinking about religious movements is because there is Saturn and Mars conjunction still in play in the sign of Pisces. And Pisces is the ultimate sign of religions. Jupiter often acts like a god. And most likely, I would say that a head of a state will be somehow in the pickle. So I can imagine a possible attack against a world leader, or there will be certain type of changes of laws in regards to world leaders. For example, I'm going to give an example here. There was a situation in Hungary where someone unfortunately molested a young person, and the person was suspended or dismissed or resigned, whatever the situation was, but still get 30,000 euro or 35,000 US dollar a month as a salary until the end of his life. So there is an element of an unfairness, and people are demonstrating about this or against this. So of course, something similar we could be expecting in the world happening as well. Something to do with fighting against injustice. This could talk to us about changes of laws or changes of school system as well. Uranus is typically about changes in the system. It somehow kicks it off, kicks it up. We don't agree with it, so we're going to give a voice to it. I'd like to mention that I think it's going to be something to do or in regards to politics or politicians, because this conjunction is taking place on 21, almost on 22 degree of Taurus. So that would be the third decan of the earth signs, and therefore it happens on Capricorn Dwad and Capricorn Decan as well at the same time. And Capricorn is connected to politics, politicians, leaders, CEOs. So this could indicate that a major company CEO is going to get sacked, or someone who is going to resign and going to be replaced with someone we would have never expected though. So, or I can imagine that in more countries, there will be demonstrations to get an earlier voting. For example, they want to get rid of a world leader, so they want to be voting a lot quicker. Both planets are really about the liberation from boundaries. So it's kind of like I want to break out of a certain type of situation in the sign of Taurus. Also, probably the trading will be changing significantly between countries. How I imagine this is that countries that are allies now will not be allies in the next 3 years, and countries who are kind of not necessarily enemies, but they haven't really made any type of formal connections yet, will come together. So when we look at the previous cycles, we had a previous cycle. By the way, Uranus-Jupiter conjunction only happens in the sign of Taurus, the last time it happened was in 1941. And I'm not going to give a history lecture in this video because I did that in the previous one. So I highly recommend listening back to that video. But in 2010 and 2011, we had this conjunction of the 0 degree of Aries. We had 3 conjunctions, and the next one was, I think, on 29 degree of Pisces, and the third conjunction happened on 27 degree of Pisces. So this is the reason I would say that once Mars hits the 27 degree of Pisces, that's where actually Neptune is sitting at the moment. It's very possible that we're going to have this kind of religious movement happening, fighting against the religious belief systems and so forth. And interestingly enough, 2000 and 2011 were really about the Arab Spring. So I feel like the Arabic countries are going to be one of the major topic here, or the Arabic world will be impacted significantly. I also believe that the borders of countries will change a lot as well. Or we're just talking about border controls here. So who can enter, who cannot enter, who receives a visa, who doesn't receive a visa, and all these type of things. And I feel like at the beginning, it might not be obvious how it should be done or how it is. So there is going to be some chaos in travel industries, especially at the airports. What I feel like is going to be happening that airports are closing down, suspending their services, or there is not going to be enough people working. Maybe there is going to be an airstrike, for example, and therefore tourists and people will get stuck at the airports. So unfortunately, I might see that happening as well, coming up with this. Of course, it comes with a lot of positive things as well at the same time, though. So there is going to be space travel industry will grow significantly. I also feel like that the airplane companies will upgrade their system, maybe a lot better business class or a lot better economy class, or probably they're going to come up with some major sales as well. So it will be probably very beneficial for everyone to look at the prices, because I think this bargaining and the consciousness about how much money to spend will be really in the middle of the focus. Therefore, companies somehow will be forced, at least certain type of companies, not the food industry though, okay? I don't think the food industry will be increasing prices so significantly. They will, but there is going to be more bargains on the shelves as well. I think artificial intelligence will be a big hit. And of course, I think everyone knows that by now. We've been talking about this for years, how the AI and chat GPT or whatever these things called will grow significantly. I also feel like that the productivity in companies will improve. So therefore, it could talk to us about faster internet, faster computers, faster phones, or faster production lines, and so forth. There is going to be a major upgrade happening in the farming industry, in the meat industry, as well as in the medical fields as well. But I'm going to talk about that in a short while. I think cryptocurrency most likely will come with a major growth, but most likely a sudden fall as well after July. A couple of years ago, I made a prediction that I think silver is going to be blooming from the middle of 2024. And I still believe that silver is a big hit this year. Also, I would say that, as I said, the conjunction happens every 14 years, almost 14 years, and usually it's 2 signs away from the previous one. So the previous one happened in Pisces, so now it's going to be taking place in Taurus. But we had a little bit of a mixture there as well. Anyway, it's a very interesting cycle, and I'm not going to go into that. But because Taurus represents something to do with payments, how we pay, or how much money we receive, how much money we have got in our bank account. So I can imagine that there is going to be certain type of fights for equal pays, or fighting against taxation. So I can imagine that there is going to be some type of tax relief introduced in the next decade as well, probably starting around 2027, especially when Pluto and, well, it can be already when Pluto and Jupiter are kind of making a trine with each other, but I would say probably this is something to do with 2027, most likely. Also, by the way, also interesting that the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction passes over Russia and Iran, especially. So they are going to be a major topic. Probably there is going to be certain type of treaty coming between them two, or maybe a kind of like a sudden departing from each other. But probably this is something that is going to be shocking others. Probably we're going to see some massive migration happening. And this is the reason why, there is going to be border controls, or, increased awareness around who can travel through what type of countries and so forth. I can imagine new laws around internet usage. Maybe it's how much internet you use, or what you post on internet, or what can be read on internet, and all these type of things. And maybe this is going to be involving children as well. So certain type of censorship most likely is popping back with this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. But also I can imagine that people with similar mindsets will group up more. I can even imagine, we have been talking about this for a while, but kind of like these self-sufficient communities, I think that is going to be rising in the next 1 decade. And also I can imagine that a certain type of a movement that will start and then gets popularized. Now, all of a sudden, what came to my mind was the ice bucket challenge. It's a silly example. I just want to be demonstrating. I think that happened around 2010-ish, 2011, exactly around the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction in the sign of Pisces. Even though Pisces does not rule ice, but I'd like to mention that Uranus is the coldest planet in our solar system. So Uranus can represent something to do with ice. And that became kind of like a big hit. So maybe it's just something like a movement like that, but I think it might be connected a little bit more in regards to our values. On a personal level, this could indicate that, look at first of all what was going on in your life sometimes between July till October 2023, even though Jupiter and Uranus were not conjuncting, but they were pretty close to each other. So that might be something that is going to be giving you a tip or a hint about what to expect and how you can grab your own opportunities, let's say between around the 18th of April till about the 27th of April, because that's a big, I know not a big one, but it's a huge opportunity window for you to grasp something. So it is telling you to be more optimistic. It is telling you to make a huge change in your life. Have a leap of faith that you can, for example, earn more money, or you can invest into something, or you can sell or buy something. It's pretty much about how you sell out or how you sell up something, for example. Maybe you feel like that I need to be increasing the price of something, and then you might need to do that, such as your services and so forth. I think this conjunction will want plenty of you to get unstuck from a certain type of situation and planting the seeds for a new life. So maybe it's a new career opportunity. Maybe it's a new relationship. Maybe it's studying something so that in the future you can start a new career. Also, most likely, this is, many astrologers call this aspect as the lucky break. And surely this is a lucky break period as well, on a personal level. But it could also come with huge losses as well. When we don't step back and analyze the situation, it doesn't mean I'm going to be sitting on top of a pile of something for a very long time, because it prompts us to take action. But Taurus does that a little bit slowly. So this could talk to you about sudden gains as well, or just making you feel more confident about something. So, for example, here is my personal example so that you can understand your own chart maybe a little bit better. And therefore, it's very important that you're going to be reflecting on maybe on the previous 2 cycles, depending on how old you are, of course, to kind of have a feel what to expect from this conjunction. So we had 1997, when we had the conjunction happening on 5 degrees of Aquarius, and it happened in my 12th house. It was not so close to my sun, but it was close enough. Very interesting that I met a really good friend of mine who introduced astrology and psychology to me. But I officially started studying astrology in 2001. 2001, when Jupiter and Uranus were already in square. Then 2011, we had this 0 degree of Aries and 29 degree of Pisces and 27 degree of Pisces conjunction, because it happened 3 times. So it activated my 2nd and 1st house. Now, that is the first time when I got promoted and I became a restaurant manager, and it came with a huge pay rise as well. And it was quite a surprise to me, to be frank. But I also had my first relationship as well. Now, both ended pretty much when Jupiter and Uranus started squaring each other. So ended relationship and ended that career as well. And I started doing self-employment. So some of the tips I would like to give you in the next 3 years is to big dream, or dream big, the other way around. Start something new, plant the seeds, upgrade your ideas and plans. And when the opportunity comes around, seize it. Do not just walk past, or do not sit on it, contemplating on it for a very long time. I feel like this is going to be bringing a lot of people good opportunities, because the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is happening, and Venus will be joining that conjunction as well, which I haven't made a video about with Corinne, but I'm going to be making a new one on that, just exactly from tropical astrology point of view. So, and also you might want to remember that we're going to have a lunation happening in the sign of Scorpio just 3 days after the conjunction. So that is so much to do with releasing the fear. But about that later on in another video. Probably we're going to see a lot of upgrades in travel industries. Maybe we're going to see more motorbikes or less cars, or maybe we're going to be using different type of devices. Maybe people will be walking more. Let's see how that plays out, but surely the public transport will be changing significantly, especially once Jupiter and Uranus move into the sign of Gemini. Unfortunately, some of the, and then traveling in the air by cars probably is going to get popularized, but I have spoken about that in the previous video also. Probably we might be seeing some type of mining accident, or people getting stuck somewhere because of some type of natural disasters. Probably we're going to see the biggest earthquake of the century. And I don't like being the negative messenger, but historically speaking, Jupiter, Uranus always comes with earthquakes. Now it happens in the sign of Taurus. So this is pretty much the Earth. Now, in 2011, the last Jupiter-Uranus conjunction brought us, Japan had a 9.0 magnitude of earthquake, and then Chile had an 8.8 or something like that. So we should be expecting some earthquake, natural disasters, and especially earthquakes and tsunamis, unfortunately. I think farming industry will be changing quite a lot as well. And also astrology will change a lot as well. Now, I think this psychological approach of things will start kind of disappearing most likely, and people will be a lot more curious in down to earth kind of approach. So the remedies in astrology will be rising significantly, which, to be honest, I'm not so happy about. But we astrologers going to have to look at our business, because people will want something tangible, not so much on the psychological part, most likely in the future. So practical astrology, for example, when it comes to teaching astrology as well, it's going to become a lot more practical through charts, through your natal charts and so forth, which, if you know me, I tend to be doing on classes as well. I think this conjunction will bring the rise of minority groups, especially connected to sexual orientation. So we might be seeing the gay community, the transgender community will rise, I think. And obviously, there are going to be a lot of protest and fight against them as well. But I would not be shocked if there was the first, I don't know, president, or not necessarily a president, but, you know, kind of like a CEO and so forth. I think the meat industry will become quite shocking. So shocking revolutionary ideas around there. The genetically modified meat will start growing significantly. There's going to be space discoveries. Maybe aliens are going to be visiting me, or there is going to be evidence about it. Taurus actually can represent evidence, because it's something I can hold in my own hand. I think a treaty between two countries to be born and to disappear as well at the same time. And one of the participants is going to be Russia, surely, and another one probably China and another country. So we will see that. It's kind of like, you know what, I'm going to give you a phone call. Do you want to side with me? And to beat another country instead, that type of thing. So we're probably going to see that in the political world, and probably going to see that through companies as well, where two companies will be merging to kind of beat a third one. So guys, this is a brief video. It's more of a summary rather than explaining what to do, how to do. You know, as I said, astrology should be a little bit more practical with this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in the sign of Taurus. So I will try to be a little bit more practical as well. But remember, the aim of my channel is to teach you and to see the correlation between things, so that you know, you can analyze your own chart, and then you can help yourself in the best possible way. And I think, you know, that's the reason why I said I'm not so happy about practical astrology replacing psychological astrology in a big run, because I think both of them are extremely important. So let's see what the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction brings for us. See you soon. Bye-bye.